Okay, this video is directed towards one Daniel C Deitrick. Danny. You really messed yourself up. Hopefully you'll actually listen when things are in a different medium. And yeah, I'm going to keep calling you Danny. I know you don't like it, but sorry, you're not worthy of the respect that I normally default to most people. You've taken quite a habit of malicious slander, but, well, I'll get to that in a minute. I read your piece, where you were hashing it out, if you could call it that, with Chris Bennett. I don't think he was particularly receptive to it, but I don't know the guy. Just see his drivel. It looks like he came to his senses when calling you out. But, I read, you were comparing yourself to an owl. Probably a bad comparison. Or, well, maybe a good comparison, seeing as how Native Americans, at least some of them, associate owls with demons, But I digress. But it is, venting about some of the stuff you went through in your childhood. That is some genuinely sad stuff. It really is. It's also not something that's unique to you. A lot of us have tough childhoods. The world's a tough place. It's sad. It would be nice if we lived in a better world that was, nicer to children. It really would. Yet, you're not a child anymore. You're an adult. So you don't get to act like a child anymore and justify it. You thought I was being all mean when I called out that crazy idea of Darth Maul for president, and your idea of let's determine a president by a non-lethal lightsaber duel, if there should even be such a thing guaranteed if lightsabers were real, which of course they're not and don't really fit scientifically, but I'm playing with the idea. And if I had said that and ridiculed that from an actual 8-year-old child, that would be mean, because kids need to be free to just think and express and play around. But you are, I think you said you're 37 now, so you don't get that excuse. You now have to behave like an adult, and therefore your ideas can be scrutinized and critiqued. And when things are bad, dangerous ideas, they're gonna get called out. Grow up. I don't know if you're familiar with the system called Enneagram. It's a typology, and one of the few good ones out. One of the few of, hundreds of them out there that are actually any good, that actually has some depth. Now, I'm a type 4. Maybe you are too. Type 4s, we build our identity on being different. And that's okay. The problem is that 4s will get so into being different that they think they're uniquely exceptional, that the rules don't apply to them because they've suffered and nobody else has. Nobody else has suffered like them. But a healthy 4 will realize that, hey, other people suffered too. They just manage it in different ways. And see, I don't know what the hell type you are. I couldn't care about breaking it down. But you're showing that same kind of behavior. You think you're the exception to the rule because you suffered so much. Poor DC. And now you're becoming the bully that you rallied against the whole time. Not physically. I mean, you wouldn't scare me at all in that sense. But you are doing your utmost to slander my friend Wahid. You know, as he said, you're no journalist. And you're deliberately spreading false information. You keep harping on his use of the word skullfuck directed at somebody, but you are intentionally, I mean, I'm guessing it has to be intentional, or you really need to work on your attention span. But it's faring it down enough in the text that, yeah, I think it's selective rather than short-term memory issues. It's far down enough in the text that, yeah. But if you look at the sentence right before it, Wahid is talking about a debate. You know, he actually says that, you know, the person he directs it at, I forget his name, he actually says, if we were in a debate and you did not have control of the levers, indicating he's talking about a fair debate, I'd skullfuck you. You know, it's no different than saying I'm going to whoop your ass. Obviously, both can be, if taken literally, are violent, but it's very clear that the context is intellectual debate. And you omit that. And I have a hard time believing it's something other than intentionally omitting it to slander my friend. Not cool. Not cool at all. But you think you're the exception. Just as in the Enneagram, there's always, if you go into a group of like any enthusiast, there's always some person in there claiming to be type 4 who says that they're the only type 4. And everybody else is a fake. Despite the fact, I even try to say that it's the rarest of the personality types, despite the group often being populated with type 4s. But there's always some immature one that thinks they're the exception. Well, you're not the exception. You suffered. A lot of us did. Most of us did. But we don't take that suffering and turn it around as justification for becoming abusers ourselves, which is exactly what you're doing. Exactly. You know, you've gotten in that, that's why you're taking the side of other abusers, Zionists. Yeah, a lot of Jews suffered. You know, what the Third Reich did, throwing them in the camps, gassing them, and suffered some horrible things. But it gives them no right to do what they do to the Palestinians, who had nothing to do with what the Germans did to them. So you're identifying with the abuser because you've become one. I mean, we've all had fantasies, childhood fantasies. Like I said, they're allowed to be free. But I gotta admit, that one about you imagining to be a T-Rex and actually eating people? Or eating other animals, I don't know, but eating something raw. I haven't heard that one before. It's a little disturbing. And if it was just a thing when you were a kid, well, okay, just imagination, but you're not a kid anymore. Now you're using that fantasy to justify exactly the kind of abuse you wish you could do if you were physically stronger. So instead, you fancy yourself some journalist while you go around slandering people. And the funny thing is, you've set up a total double standard because you've used violent language yourself. Oh, you got on Wahid thinking he was just a brute because he used the term skullfuck in a intellectual setting, to win a debate easily. When I joked about the bear and hunter joke, you went right to the violent content of the joke, not realizing that it's about somebody who seems to enjoy putting himself in a situation, not enjoying the treatment itself, but enjoying the idea that he now has justification to go out and shoot the bear. When it was the bear all along who was not the aggressor. The bear just turned the tables on him. But you, in your notes, your DM notes on Reddit to Wahid, used the word nuke. That you wanted to nuke people. Well, nuke? That kills a whole lot more people than skull fucking. Oh, and you've used other violent analogies. Order 66. It's from a fictional story, but it's a mass extermination. And you made that like bird and snake analogy, and that was all okay. That was all just a joke. Oh, but then when we do it, we're not the exceptional ones that you are because you've uniquely suffered. No. Grow up. Grow up, Danny. And you see him in that same piece. The owl one. You seem to be just looking for more and more justification and avoidance of responsibility. You said that you wish it wasn't, or you wish you were Irish instead of English. And that it wasn't your ancestors, as far as you knew, who did anything to Native Americans. But you don't get to use that. None of us white people do. Okay? Yeah, I'm a redhead. Guess what? I'm heavily Irish. But in terms of descent, but I'm not really Irish. I come from the US. Irish Americans aren't Irish because they gave up their Irishness to be Americans, to be white. And that's what we white people all have to rectify. We became white because of the actions of our ancestors, and we all benefited, granted benefited in a really sick kind of way, and we could have benefited more through peace rather than conquest. But we benefited, and now it's our responsibility to do better. But you're not. You're looking for justification. You're looking for justification to be whatever asshole you want to be. But it don't work. And it's just making you an asshole. You continue to even try to bring people into it in a completely false way. You cited Denis Heron and Nate Abukiri as people who you think were about to take Wahid down, and they were going to, put something out that would ruin his reputation, blah, blah, blah. But look, I was there at that time. I was actually the guy who found Dale's "he's better than Roy Moore" journal entry after another associate of ours, who I won't name, found another piece about him reviewing some, I don't know if it was a blog entry or an actual book or whatever, but about some older person who's been genetically modified to stay looking 16 years old, and he thought that was hot. Yeah, he being Dale, not the associate of ours who found it. I went looking for more. So I was there when that went down. And the reason why Nate and Denise made peace with Wahid is because they were partnering up with Dale. Yeah, they're partnering up with them. They love them. And then we brought that out. And they dropped Dale like a hot potato. They realized that Wahid, I, and our associates were the ones who'd been telling the truth. And they backed off. Because they saw Dale for what he was, from his own written words. Yet you continue to defend that. You continue to defend someone who admitted to confessing romantic feelings to an 11-year-old girl when he was 47. Yep. That's who you're defending. Just because you've gotten yourself a personal grudge against Wahid. And then you go and bring Peter Lamborn Wilson into it, a guy Wahid had some contact with, who shortly before his death asked to join the FSO. And Wahid let him in. And by the time Wahid was able to announce that publicly, Peter Lamborn Wilson, aka Hakeem Bey, had already passed away. And it came out that yes, he was a registered member of HAMBLA, which we don't like. But we realized he had no incidents of actually doing anything to anybody, not even any accusations. And there's some tradition among some Sufis, it's one I'm really not into, of making people think they're up to bad so that they don't get too egotistical about their own reputation. It's like I'm not too big on it because, frankly, it's just another image management sort of thing. And certainly if it turned out that we found out that Peter Lamborn Wilson had some legit accusations against him, we would drop him. But we have no evidence of that. And he didn't lie. Okay, this Sufi practice, among some, that again I disagree with, they don't go out and say that they did this or that wrong. They just leave false hints, like pouring alcohol on themselves to make people think they were drinking. But they don't actually say they go out and got drunk. They just let people interpret the false clues. As far as we can tell, that's what Wilson did with his membership in that organization. It's a sick organization. We don't condone it. And Wahid said so when he publicly announced that he had accepted Wilson's membership in the FSO. But rather than look at the actual facts of who actually did stuff and who didn't, you choose to completely ignore Dale, who actually did some pretty egregious emotional violations, even if not physical ones, of an 11-year-old girl. All for your ego. All for your image so that you can justify in your own mind, because nobody else is buying it, that you get to be right, that you get to be special, that you get to be the exception. It doesn't work that way. And I also noticed you in that owl piece, slandering China. That's just more affiliation with Zionist propaganda. Now, I am not going to waste my time perusing through all your verbal vomit, but I've never heard you get on China before. No, I've heard Dale do that. Totally misinformed about it. You haven't, as far as I know. But ain't it funny that you chose to repeat a completely false talking point of Western propaganda about China, the whole Uyghur genocide thing? Right after China came out and said that Israel has to be disarmed. And you say you don't have any loyalties to Israel, that you're not an agent of them. Maybe you're not a paid agent, you just one is stupid enough to work for free, whether you know it or not. Because, yeah, you might mimic things that sound like I'd agree with, politically, but people like Trump and that, but you're doing it in such an insane way that you're hurting the cause. And we don't want people around who are hurting our cause, especially when you start serving the imperialists by slandering other people for their left views, which is what you're doing to Wahid and what you did to me when I went to defend him. We don't have documentation about any private correspondence you have with whoever, but you admitted, yes, you admitted that you had correspondence recently with the National Spiritual Assembly. That's the Baha'i governing body. And you wrote it. And if you look, I even told Wahid, I said it very publicly, I'm like, I don't know if he's just spouting off stuff and is delusional, which you could have played into, but you didn't. You didn't. And yet, everything else you said indicates a maliciousness towards Muslims to be pro-Zionist. And you've tried to, even to the point of baiting us into revealing things about ourselves, which we're not stupid enough to do. I don't know why you think we are that stupid, but you apparently seem to delusionally think it. Yeah. Like when you tried to say, talking about your alleged family in Eswatini, oh, I have such love for them and you'll never have that love, blah, blah, blah. Because you think we think like you. You think that our image is that important to us, that we're going to go, we have that kind of love too. And let me tell you, the people. No, we're not that dumb. We're not giving you other people to go and harass and slander. You tried the same crap when you said that beyond Wahid, only Matt and Salman were in the FSO. No, there's a lot of other members, but we're not stupid enough to tell you who they are. We're not. Give it up. Not going to work. Okay? And you even turned your whole family in Eswatini. You tried to turn it on me. I mean, I specifically said that I was not playing that game, that it would be very wrong of me to ask for a picture. Just that I questioned whether or not they were real, and if they were real, maybe they weren't who you thought they were. And yet you tried to turn that around and say that I was attacking them. I really want to know how you justify in your mind how I could possibly attack somebody whose existence I'm questioning, if it's even real. And I specifically said it wasn't bait. I specifically said it would be wrong to ask for a picture, because I and Wahid and all the rest of us, we don't want to bring people we care about into this crap. But you seem like you want us to, and we're not going to give it to you. You're not. Give it up. Not going to happen. But what is going to happen is we're going to keep defending ourselves from your slander. Because you think you're righteous. But righteousness is evil sometimes. You're showing it. You know, like I said, you slandered China with typical American propaganda. I've actually been to China twice. Short trips, but I've been there. The whole thing about the Uyghur genocide, it's BS. I haven't been to Xinjiang, but Uyghur culture is celebrated outside of Xinjiang. It's not the Uyghurs aren't stuck in Xinjiang, okay? Some of them move to other parts of China. In fact, Uyghur restaurants are like super popular in Guangzhou on the complete opposite end. If there was a genocide going on, do you think that there'd be other Uyghurs just casually moving out and opening restaurants? I mean, genocide's erasure. These people sure aren't being erased. I've been there, I've seen it. I even put pictures up. Not of those restaurants personally. You know, try to be a little less invasive. But, yeah, I've been there. You haven't, but you just want to spread rumors. Because you keep defending those who use their suffering as a defense to bring suffering on others. And whatever other politics we might on the surface agree on, if I took your words literally, to me it's like you're just harming every cause that you claim to be for by talking about it in such an unhinged way. And so we don't want you around. We see you as every bit as bad, because you are. Maybe you're not intending it, but the pattern so much I have a hard time buying you're not intending it. Either way, it doesn't really matter. You're helping the empire, one way or another. Intention or not, doesn't matter, because you're not looking. At least you're pretending you don't look, I don't know, at the consequences, and just using your victimhood to justify all your slander, all your evil. You've become the people that harmed you as a child. You've become that. Time to find a real therapist and get yourself some help. Because righteousness, going back to Chinese culture, see, you think, oh, I'm just, you side with people who think they're just, the Zionists who just think they're right. But see, that's not universal. That's Western. That's Western imperialism. Yeah, that's Western imperialism. See, in the Chinese way, You ever see how like they have a door that might not actually have an actual door on it, just like an open portal? There's this wall in front of that door. That's not just fad. That's spiritual architecture. Because in the Chinese viewpoint, malevolent spirits can't pivot, they can't turn. That's you. You can't turn. You can't see anything else because you're so wrapped up in your own victimhood that you won't look around. And you just blame everybody else. You accuse Wahid and others of trying to cause you emotional distress. But see, that's not true because Wahid can't cause you emotional distress. I can't cause you emotional distress. Just like you can't cause me emotional distress. There's only one person who can cause me emotional distress, and that's me. That's what grown-ups do. We take responsibility for our feelings. You don't. You blame everybody else. Now, you can because you're a lot bigger. Cause children emotional distress, but not another adult. You emotionally distress you. And you are emotionally distressing you. That's obvious. And what if you keep slandering us, we will keep rebutting with the truth. And you will continue to slander if you do. And you apparently will keep causing yourself even more emotional distress. And eventually, you will emotionally distress yourself right into a padded room. And as nasty as you've been, I won't have any sympathy for you. But you have another option. You have an option to just simply stop it and walk away and get some real help. Now, I don't think you're going to take that. I think you're like one of those malevolent spirits that can't pivot, that can't turn. It'd be nice to be wrong. And well, because see, you do have that choice. You might have a lot of ego. It's keeping you from it, but you do have that choice. You can delete everything, say you're sorry, and walk away. Walk away.